JSB Talks Digital.
Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, digital transformation champions, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. In this episode, number 118, I'm celebrating Google's 20th birthday. Can you believe 2 whole decades of search marketing? In social media news, Instagram co-founders quit to build new things. Snapchat adds new Amazon e-commerce integration. And Facebook will now allow pages to join Facebook groups. I interview Alan Hennessy and Christina Brauer about how Google has changed our lives and our marketing. Shoutouts, lessons from Larry and Sergey, the co-founders of Google. Bobby B asks JSB, in JSB's column, why Google is the Goliath of the internet, and are you ready for the next digital chapter? And finally, find out what Google tool saved my working week.
Social media news.
Big news this week on the social media front with a statement from Kevin Systrom, Instagram co-founder and CEO, announcing he and Mike Krieger are stepping down and moving on. In a blog post he wrote, Mike and I are grateful for the last 8 years at Instagram and 6 years with the Facebook team. We've grown from 13 people to over 1,000 with offices around the world, all while building products used and loved by a community of over 1 billion. We're now ready for our next chapter. We're planning on leaving Instagram to explore our curiosity and creativity again. Building new things requires that we step back, understand what inspires us, and match that with what the world needs. That's what we plan to do. So let's see what happens next at Instagram and who will take over the leadership of the company. Snapchat has announced a new partnership with Amazon, which will enable users to shop at any time via the Snapchat camera. Called Visual Search, you simply point your Snapchat camera at a physical product or barcode and press and hold on the camera screen to get started. When the item or barcode is recognised, an Amazon card will appear on screen, surfacing a link for that product or similar ones available on Amazon. Snapchat said in a statement, beginning this week, we're testing a new way to search for products on Amazon right from the Snapchat camera. We'll be rolling it out slowly, but we wanted to announce it to everyone at the same time. It's super easy to use. Simply point your Snapchat camera at the product or barcode and buy. Facebook is now allowing some pages to join Facebook groups and comment and interact with them as a business page. Speaking to Social Media Today, Facebook explained the update. We've heard from people that engaging with public figures, non-profits, publishers and businesses in a more intimate setting can be meaningful. We previously launched the ability for pages to start Facebook groups so that they can engage with their communities. We are now testing the ability for pages to join existing Facebook groups as well. Being able to interact in groups as your business page may provide a new way to generate exposure and to build brand awareness within relevant Facebook communities. Right now, the Allow Pages to request to join as group members is active by default on those groups and pages that have the feature. Please let me know if you have the feature. Will you be happy that pages can join your group? Will it make a difference to the dynamic within the group? For me, I actually think it will be useful for my public sector audiences who so often don't want to use their personal profiles for work engagement.
Interview.
In this episode, I interview digital marketers Alan Hennessy and Christina Brauer about how Google has changed our professional and personal lives over the past 20 years. I also asked them for their favourite Google product, because after all, Google is so much more than just a search engine.
JSB Talks Digital.
Alan Hennessy of Compass Media and also the Social Media Talks podcast, which celebrates its first anniversary. You're very welcome to JSB Talks Digital.
Thank you so much, Joanne. How are you today?
Well, I'm really good and I'm really excited because it's birthdays all around, right? So we're here to celebrate and to honour Google, the Goliath of the internet. So I wanted to ask you, from your own personal perspective, right, how has Google changed your own life?
I think the thing about Google that has really changed my life is it's just the ability and the vast array of different things that you can do with Google. It's so versatile in everything, in every shape and form, from searching online to Gmail to YouTube. It's as you say, it's a Goliath of the digital world.
You're a marketer like me. How has it changed marketing for us? Because we've had to learn how Google operates and how it wants us as marketers to feed content into its search engine and indeed its other array of products. But from your perspective, how do you think it has changed our world?
I think it has given us a huge ability to, I suppose, to give us all more. To give us so much more help in respect of, what we can actually do with the platform and, all the different areas that we can use from the Google Docs to the cloud services. And just being able to reach a much wider audience with our marketing in every shape and form.
Can you tell me what your favourite Google product is that you couldn't live without? And I know that's a tough question. I actually wouldn't like to be asked it myself. But anyway, I ain't answering the questions. I'm asking the questions today. What's your favourite Google product?
I suppose, there's so many and it's a tough choice, but I think the one that really is so invaluable to me has to be the Google Drive, the cloud storage, and the calendars as well. But more so the Drive, because there's so much, that you can use it for. And and you have so much space on it, and it really is. It's invaluable, like especially when you're out and about, and like with me, with my business and what I do, I wouldn't be sitting at a desk every day. So being able to access and have it on a space where I can actually reach it from anywhere, no matter where I am in the world, it really is. It's invaluable for me. I suppose, yes, the Google Drive would be the big one for me.
So big shout out for the Google Drive. And did you know that Google is actually the world's second largest manufacturer of servers, and they don't sell servers? Alan, they build servers for people like you who want to save all their data on it for free. Isn't it amazing?
It's incredible. And, you look at Google over the last, the last 20 years, and just the way it has developed and it has grown. And, it's part of our lives now. It's part of what we do. We're all digital. And I think that the types of, say, with Google, where you have with Google now is there's just so much that you can do with it. And, we no longer say, oh, hold on, I just checked that book. We're actually even starting to say that now ourselves. We Google information. We don't search for it anymore,
Alan Hennessy, thank you so much for joining me on JSB Talks Digital. And don't forget to check out Alan's podcast, Social Media Talks. Alan, you have had all the big names on your podcast. Can I just say, I've been doing this for over 2 years, and when I listened to your 1 year promo, I was like, man, He just gets the big names. He's like, must be a criteria to go on your show. I feel kind of lucky that I had an opportunity. So tell people where they can find it.
Well, if you just jump onto our website, which is www.compassmedia.ie, and you'll find all of the podcasts there. And we've now added a complete new section for podcasting, so we're also doing production as well on that. But, to listen to the podcast, it's probably the easiest way is to go to the website, or you can find them on all your, podcast providers throughout across the internet, for want of a better word, So, it's been good, and it was great to have you on the show as well. It was a privilege and an honor to have you in there with some of the biggest marketeers around the world, and of course you are one of them, Joanne. And I do love a little bit of blowing your trumpet.
Oh, Alan, you're making me blush here. Thank God this is a podcast. Thank you so much. And hey, go Google. Go Google. It's Google's birthday. Go Google.
Happy birthday, Google.
JSB Talks Digital.
Christina, I'm so delighted to have you back on my podcast. And when I was thinking about people to have on the show to discuss Google's 20th birthday, you came to mind.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back again after a bit more than a year, I think.
Absolutely. So I want to know, how has Google changed your personal life?
Well, as an ex-Googler, I think Google has impacted my life in many, many different ways, because I made a lot of great friends there while working there. But I think also if we look at the impact that Google and Google's tools have on our everyday lives, can you remember a time before there was emails that weren't in conversation view? When you always had to go through like every email you ever received from a person to find out that one on that particular date, to find like something that was sent to you, whereas in Gmail in conversation view it's just so easy and it's sorted by threads. Like looking at all the Google products which exist, I think this is still my favorite, just because it's so unimaginable for me to go back to something else and not work like that anymore.
Wow, you've just brought me back to the dark times. I forgot about that completely.
I thought about this when you asked me. I was like, oh no, those days. And sometimes I work with organizations who don't use Gmail tools, and then I also always get brought back to those very dark times indeed.
So as marketers, it has completely changed the world of work for us and how we represent our clients and represent ourselves online. What has been the biggest changes to marketing as you've seen them because of Google?
Also here I have an interesting perspective on this, because when I studied marketing, Google and digital marketing wasn't really around. So all my marketing professors always said, "Ooh, half of your marketing spend is wasted, but you don't know which half." And I actually kept my interactive marketing book, which also has a chapter on pay-per-click marketing, and it highly recommends not to do that, because there are a lot of fraud happens and nobody really understands what's going on. And then as I graduated, I joined Google, and my mind was just blown that actually you can track everything, all the consequences of your marketing activities, and you're not wasting half your marketing spend, or at least if you do, then you know, and you can stop that. And that pay-per-click marketing isn't something where you waste money and where you don't really understand what's happening, but it's actually one of the most powerful ways of reaching your customers. If you look at search advertising, you can reach customers in the exact moment that they're searching for your product or service. Going back 20 years, this is unthinkable. So for all of my customers and all the companies I've worked at and with over the last few years, that's been a great success factor.
What is your favorite Google product? And of course, there are so many, but what is one that you can't, or your business can't live without?
Probably Google Ads, because that is literally that is what I work on and consult with, and it obviously brings brings great value to all of my clients. One that I have also rediscovered, especially during doing workshops with people who aren't that much into the digital space, it actually is Google Trends, because it makes it really easy for us to understand how much our product is on top of the mind of consumers. And I was doing a workshop at a big consumer goods brand, and there actually, by typing in their brand, they could see that their last big campaign really has risen the search volume of their brand names.
Wow, amazing. And how do you think that the next digital chapter is going to go? We know that AI and AR and VR and voice are so important in the next digital generation for Google. Should brands and organizations be embracing the change?
They definitely should. I think it's very early days and very abstract, even for me, to imagine what that will look like. Because until so far, my conversations with Alexa and Google Home are quite frustrating and one-sided. But I think these technologies will evolve in a very, very, very fast pace. And organizations should at least think about how they can use them in the future.
Christina, always a pleasure to have you on my podcast, and you are my official go-to Googler.
It's always nice to chat to you, especially on the podcast, Joanne.
And can I please ask you to wish Google a happy birthday, a happy 20th birthday?
Happy birthday, Google!
Shoutouts.
In this part of the show, I give shoutouts to brands, organizations, or individuals whose work online is remarkable and worth talking about. In this episode, I'm giving shoutouts to Google's co-founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, creators of the #1 search engine in the world. Larry Page is the CEO of Google's parent company, Alphabet Inc. As of June 2018, Larry was the 9th richest person in the world with a net worth of $53.6 billion. Sergey Brin is the president of Google's parent company, Alphabet Inc. Sergey is the 10th richest person in the world with an estimated net worth of $52.1 billion. I asked my Facebook friends to record my favourite quotes from these two leaders.
Sergey and I founded Google because we're super optimistic about the potential for technology to make the world a better place.
Always work hard on something uncomfortably exciting.
My goal is for Google to lead, not follow.
Solving big problems is easier than solving little ones.
You never lose a dream. It just incubates as a hobby.
Before I finish this segment, let me share my ultimate favourite one that I and many of you may identify with. The only way you are going to have success is to have lots of failures first. How true is that?
Ask JSB.
In this week's Ask JSB, Bobby B has the best question I've ever had on this show. Prepare yourself. So, this week's question is from Bobby B, and he's asking me the question today, which is Google's 20th birthday. Hi, Bobby.
Hey.
So, ask me your question about Google.
How were you able to use Google before smartphones?
Of course, Bobby, the answer to your question is that before smartphones, we had desktop computers and laptops. So that's how we accessed Google. Great question, though. If you have a digital marketing or social media question, don't forget you will have it answered on the show. Use the hashtag AskJSB on Twitter or Instagram. You can also leave me a voicemail with your question at digitaltraininginstitute.ie/AskJSB.
JSB's column.
In today's JSB's column, I reflect on why Google is the Goliath of the internet, and I want to ask you if you are ready for the next big digital chapter. Let's start with going back to the beginning. Do you know how Google got its name? A Google is a large number. In fact, in decimal notation, it's written as the digit 1 followed by 100 zeros. The creators, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, chose this name to represent the enormous amount of information that the search engine was going to process, although at the time, they didn't know how far they would go. Google's colours, yellow, red, blue and green, come from Lego pieces. Why, you may ask? Well, when the founders were testing their search engine in 1996, they used the pieces off the game to create part of the server casing that was in charge of it. Today it can be seen at the Stanford Computer Museum in the United States. Earlier this year, Google said that we are only 1% of the way on the road to how technology is going to change our lives and our businesses. This is a profound statement and in fact may inject fear in some of you listening. We already feel unprepared for the now, never mind the digital future. But if there's one thing that I've learned in my career is that technology waits for nobody. You either disrupt leveraging technology or be prepared to be disrupted. I also want to point out that, in fact, consumer behaviour has a big role to play in how technology is evolving. Every day there are 1 billion people logged into Google's devices, and they are seeing how consumers are interacting on the internet. This behaviour is driving change and shaping how technology companies develop new products and services. The smartphone, coupled with the free availability of Wi-Fi and the democratization of the internet, has given us so much freedom and power, and we are using it to our own advantage every hour of the day. In fact, you're probably listening to this podcast on your smartphone. Google is a powerhouse on the internet stage. Here's some remarkable facts. They're the biggest search engine in the world. YouTube, which they own, is the world's second largest search engine. By 10 a.m., there are 1 billion Google searches. Google now processes over 40,000 search queries every second on average, which translates to over 3.5 billion searches per day and 1.2 trillion searches per year worldwide. That's a whole lot of data. It's algorithms which determine the search results and the order each page gets within them have an enormous influence and can even determine the fate of some companies. It's estimated that these change about 500 times a year, and no one knows exactly what the criteria are. Writing in a blog post this week, Ben Gomez, VP of Search, said there were 3 key areas they are focused on for the next chapter of search marketing. Firstly, the shift from answers to journeys. He says to help you resume tasks where you let off and learn new interests and hobbies, they're bringing new features to search that help you with ongoing information needs. 2, they talk about the shift from queries to providing a queryless way to get information. Ben says that they can surface relevant information related to interests even when you don't have a specific query in mind. And finally, the shift from text to a more visual way of finding information. Google is bringing more visual content to search and completely redesigning Google Images to help people find information more easily. What a remarkable 2 decades we've had because of Google, because of search, and because of their other products. Change is going to continue, and we as marketers must adapt, evolve, and embrace it fully. If you want to discuss your digital marketing strategy, then please get in touch. Drop me an email to Joanne@digitaltraining.co.uk. jsb.ie, and let's discuss the future of technology.
Social media tool of the week.
The social media tool that saved my working week this week is in fact a Google tool. And the tool is Google's Speed Scorecard and Impact Calculator, which compares your mobile site speed against your competitors. With most people abandoning a mobile site visit if the page takes more than a few seconds to load, speed matters a lot. You can compare up to 10 domains to see how your site stacks up against the competition in terms of speed. With the Impact Calculator, you can then estimate your revenue impact. Mobile site speed can affect conversion rates and, as a result, your revenue. So go to the tool, fill in your information to see how improving your site speed could impact your income. Try the tool out for yourself. Go to thinkwithgoogle.com/feature/mobile. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 118 of JSB Talks Digital. If you're a regular listener to the show, I would love a review. Some big news happening this week that I need to share with you. First of all, JSB Talks Digital, the podcast, is coming to Alexa. Yes, we have a flash briefing of 1 minute coming to the smart home device. So hey, all you have to say is, "Hey Alexa, play JSB Talks Digital." The other big news is that I'm hosting an hour on International Podcast Day. I am representing Ireland on the global podcasting stage. You can tune in live or you can listen back at internationalpodcastday.com. And finally, you know our award-winning blog that I always mention? Well, in fact, we are now a finalist in 2 categories: Best B2B blog and Best Marketing and Communications blog. You know I hold silver for that, but I really want gold. I've spent a lifetime coming second. Just for once, I hope to come first. So the awards are on October 26th, and of course, I will keep you updated. Don't forget that you can find this podcast on Google Podcasts, reaching even more Android users. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, Libsyn, Stitcher or SoundCloud, so absolutely no reason why you cannot subscribe. Also, for you public sector marketing pros, I now have a special episode every month of JSB Talks Digital, especially for you. Jump on to publicsectormarketingpros.com/podcast. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the show, or if you want to ask JSB, then please get in touch. Make sure you tweet me to @tweets by JSB, post a comment on our Facebook page, Digital Training Institute, or you can snap me to JSB Snaps, or why not send a boomerang to JSB Grams. I'm Joanne Sweeney Burke. This is JSB Talks Digital. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
JSB Talks Digital.